This is Football Daft with Stephen Purden,
midfield dynamo and average actor,
Chris Toll,
target man, suspicious character,
and
with the top end of Stevenson, Grado!
Sarcastically.
Tell us this. What the fuck is it that G4 Claims does?
G4 Claims is an accident management company, so we can help you from the roadside of an accident. So if you're involved in a non-fault accident, why would you use your own insurance? Why would you make a claim against your own policy when you can claim the at-fault insurance company direct? Now, dealing with them direct would be a nightmare because it's dealing with another insurance company. G4 Claims do all the work for you. We'll get you into a like-for-like comparable car whilst you're off the road. If your car's written off, we'll keep you in the hire car right up until the point where you're paid out for your own car and you're happy with it. If your car's deemed as a repair, we'll get your car repaired at a repaired body shop. And all the while, you will be in a replacement car. We can deal with your whiplash, personal injury claim. And everything we do for you is free of charge. We bill it all to the at-fault insurance company. So if you're involved in a non-fault accident, then please contact G4 Claims. Non-fault claims made easy.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to Football Daft, a Scottish broadcast legend. He's a star of radio and our TV screens. It's the one and only Mr. Chick Young. How you doing, Chick? Thanks very much for coming on the show.
I'm doing very well, and with everything that's happening in this world, I'm delighted that I'm still actually here and breathing.
Well, as long may it continue, Chick, because it would be a fucking boring place without you on the radio, my man.
Well, so at least at the end of this podcast,
once we get it out the way, you can do whatever you want.
do what I want.
Chick, what do you make of Scotland now?
Well, I knew that Stevie Clarke was the only man to take charge of the situation we were in, and he's done magnificently. Let's get this in perspective. We're not playing like Barcelona or indeed once upon a time Brazil, but we have become very difficult to beat and have now put 8 unbeaten results together, which is the first time that's happened, I think, since 1988 for Scotland. So I like the cut of Stevie Clarke's jib. I always have done. I've known him for a long time, since he scored the only goal for Scotland under 19 team in the World Championships in the Aztec Stadium in Mexico in 1983. Scotland won 1-0. Stevie scored, and I was there.
There you go.
Right.
So you go back a fair while with him then. You've been there for the beginning of his career, basically. It's to see him come full circle and to go through all of the steps that he went through down at Chelsea, what have you, and all of that. You must be quite proud of him to an extent.
Oh, you're proud of anyone who does a job for Scotland. We just needed a good manager. He strikes me as being old school. You know, it reminds me a bit of when I was a kid in this business growing up. I was petrified of people like Jock Stein and Willie Waddle, who were always Mr. Waddle and Mr. Stein to me. And things have changed. Times have changed. But Stevie just has a wee ring of the old school about him, and people won't mess him about. And I do like that. And you know, you talk about as a player, Simon got 400 grand for him from Chelsea all these years ago, and he's always been an outstanding player and a lovely bloke. You know, people think he's a bit dry, but he's got a great sense of humour.
It comes across to me as a wee bit kind of crabbit, but I kind of like that about him.
Well, like you, Grado, you come across as crabbit to people, but people kind of like you.
Do they? Do you like me, Chick?
I've always liked you. I think you're off your trolley, but I've always liked you.
Hey, what I seen we done in Scott Squad last year, that was a great wee scene, was it not?
Well, it was an experience, and had I known that it was on again and again, I might have renegotiated the repeat fees. But,
Listen, Chick, tell me about it. I've been on Scott Squad, the most watched fucking clip in Scott Squad history, and I didn't make a fraction of what this bastard makes off it.
Listen.
As long as you're no better about it.
Listen, it's on, Scott Squad's on quite a lot, but it's not on every year, like the way Only an Excuse is. Now, we had questions about Only Excuse, and we both said to each other before it started, I bet he can't be arsed with dealing with the Only Excuse stuff, but in this day and age, how do you still cope with that? Because that was what we had to read there. Everywhere he goes, he'll be haunted, everybody. Ho, ho, ho.
That's exactly it. See the bit I says, I'm not reading out. That's exactly what it says. and it must get on your fucking tits, chick.
Yeah, it does. But I couldn't. When the thing started, I couldn't conceive why anyone. It started on naked radio. They started the whole excuse thing. It was just radio, and the first time I met Johnny Watson was at a tenant sixties thing, a celebrity game we were playing. I think at half time in the competition at the where would it have been, the SECC in the late 80s, and the thing started to grow. So what happened to me in the very late 80s, early the 90s was ridiculous. A pal of mine, one of my best pals, Bill Craig, went to live in Cape Town, and I didn't see him for a number of years through the 90s. And the first time he came back, he said, "Let's go into town." I says, "Bill, I can't go into town." He said, "What are you talking about?" I says, "For a drink." I says, it'll be a nightmare." And he said, "Oh, well, you're big, he'd got you now," and all that stuff. I says, "Right, let's go into town." And I can't. I think camera phones were invited in. They're the curse, but the people just drag me in every 2 minutes. "This is me, Chick Young, standing where I am, which is here," and just getting pulled every 30 seconds. I'm getting pulled all over the place. And Bill turned to me, and I remember this clearly. He said, "What the fuck happened?"
But see, that's the funny thing. It's funny because I can imagine you with your mate in Glasgow and turning around to him and going, "What did I fucking tell you? What did I tell you?" That's all it is.
And you know, it's been funny. The other thing there's a few times when it started, I'm thinking, "Oh, it's just a caricature of me." And then I thought about it, and Johnny's impersonations of everybody else were so spot on. And I thought, eventually it dawned on me, surely I'm the only one that's a caricature. There was
what you say there.
There was one.
Sorry.
No, there was one Hogmanay with an ex-partner, and we were in my house. I had a Victorian conversion, a big, high ceilings, box shields, and big mantelpiece. And Johnny opened this particular Only Excuse and Hogmanay with leaning on the mantelpiece, dressed and doing the spit about the fate of Rangers. And I looked at my mantelpiece, and I looked at the one in the telly, and I looked at the room in the telly, and I looked at my room, and I turned to her and I said, "Did you let that wee bastard in here to film?" Because it was the double of my room, and how they knew that, I don't know.
It's funny you say that. You had that. It's funny you say you had a Victorian house. You like Victorias, don't you?
Well, sadly, what happened was, well, too many old flames there, and ironically, it went down in old flames. But that's another story.
You miss it, Chick?
Vicky's, I think my days. I was past it when I went to Vicky's. I don't think you can get a Zimmer up the stairs now, so I think these days would have been gone. But there was many laughs. The haunt. They should have turned down to the Scottish Football Museum. There's so many players, old players wandering about there. The ghosts of.
Probably a fair bit of old footballers' DNA on the floor and all, my man.
Among other things. There's actually a lot of players on the floor several times. But that was. But the whole Only Excuse thing with Johnny and me, and he's a great pal of mine.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
And I just think, of course, I can laugh at it. If it's funny, it's funny. If it's not funny, it's not funny. But Philip Differ's writing and the way they portrayed it, it made life hell for me with the whole Rangers thing. But it's been good as well, and it gives you profile, and it keeps you in demand when you might be forgotten. So
aye, it was always interesting. Yeah, but see, you're talking about the Rangers thing making life hell for you. You can't get that anywhere, do you? You don't get folks still saying you're a Rangers fan now, do you?
You kid me on, Grado.
But well, what I'm saying is, if anybody actually listens to, obviously they take it for only an excuse and what have you. But I don't think it comes across like that on the radio show. I know it's obviously a bit back here on, but you still get that then.
No, so what happened was the coincidence of this was that when Only Excuse really started getting popular, I had just written a book about Rangers, which I did for the best of reasons, which was money.
Aye.
So it was called Rebirth of the Blues, and it made me a lot of money. But of course, if I'd written a book about the Ku Klux Klan, would that have suggested I was in the Ku Klux Klan? don't think so. But of course, everybody jumped to conclusion, and it suited them at the time that I was a big Rangers fan. Now, listen, the background of this is I was born in Govan. I was brought up the south side of Glasgow. I went to a school that was about a mile less than from Ibrox. At one point, the headmaster was a director of Rangers. My brother, God rest him, was a big Rangers fan. My pals were Rangers fans. I had every reason in the world to be a Rangers fan, but I wasn't, and I never was a kid. I rebelled, and I actually would confess to when I was a young lad supporting Hearts for some bizarre reason. I never quite, I've no idea what that was about. And then my dad died. My stepdad was a big St Mirren fan, and I never knew I was a St Mirren fan as a kid. But I started, as my career began to build up, I started to be infected by the curse of having a personal affection for St Mirren because of my dad. And then he died the year after I won the cup. So I've kind of taken that on board. But everybody thinks I'm a Rangers fan for Paisley, when in fact I'm a St Mirren fan for Govan.
See, it's weird, right? I'm listening to you talk there, and I watched American Murder Story last week about the guy that killed his wife and that, and the way that he was talking in the confession room and talking to the police and clearly lying, for some reason I don't know, it sounded like you were just making up as you go along. Then you're getting right out your way here to denounce being a Rangers fan, and then my dad, and then the headmaster, and my brother, and I liked Hearts. I liked Hearts.
Exactly. He's not just that. He's flinging off the scent. He's flung in a couple of deaths along the way and all. Know what I mean?
All right, boys. I murdered my wife.
You only murdered her because she found your stash of Rangers jerseys.
What I do in the bedroom is my business.
Brilliant.
Do you still enjoy going on the radio? Chuck, you still enjoy doing it every weekend?
I do, and you know, I never used the word retired. People consider I turned 65 a while back, and I just stepped back, but I didn't want to retire. I'm still, like, I love the Scottish football world. I'd be going to games anyway. I love mixing with people, talking about football. It's been my life, you know. I've managed since 19. I worked as a copy boy in the Daily Record and a couple of local papers, but I have been a full-time football journalist since 1973, and that's a long time, and it's all I've really known. And of course, you build up contacts, you enjoy the world. I've had the best of it. At time I run to absolute perfection in this business. I've had, newspapers, magazines, radio, television, maintained columns while I was working in radio and television, books. So, and I've gotten to know people, and I would miss it all hell if they eventually just booted me out the door. I'd probably be hanging around somewhere going, "Give us a job." Let me go.
If they put you at the door, just start a podcast, mate. It's magic.
I'll keep that in mind.
So over the years you've been at numerous football matches that I would have loved to have been at. What's your favourite one? What's your favourite one that you've ever been at?
They come in all shapes and sizes. I mean, I covered the World Cup, Spain 82, Mexico 86, Italy 90, didn't go to 94, 98 in France. I've also covered the World Cups, 2006 in Germany, 2010 in South Africa when Scotland weren't there. And it's much better fun when Scotland are there. But St Mirren winning the Cup in 87 when we beat Dundee United, which was the worst game in history, but your team won the Cup, so that's it. But actually, my greatest memories, and I touched it earlier about Stevie Clarke, we're going with the youth team to Finland in 1982 when we became European champions. And people like, Pat Nevin was unbelievable, Jim McInally in that team. And then the next year, as I said, Stevie Clarke's team in Mexico, because we were European champions, so we qualified for the Under-19 World Cup. There was only 3 Scottish journalists on that trip. We were away for 5 weeks. We did altitude training in Colorado Springs, and then went to the game itself. And the 3 journalists were Jack Adams and Dick Donnelly, 2 great guys who sadly no longer with us. Wonderful, wonderful guys. And my memories of that are absolutely precious, because there was Eric Black and people like that coming through in the team, and you got to know the players, and you were the first journalist they related to, so they've always had a special relationship, I think, in the wake
Aye.
of all that. But you know, the World Cups, that game in Brazil, against Brazil in France when we opened the tournament, unbelievable stuff. 86 in Mexico. It just gets your heart thumping to think. And I just assumed I'd beat the World Cup every 4 years. In a year, what do you know? It never worked out that way.
Aye, I know. I think we'll be the next one. I've got a feeling we're going to start qualifying for stuff, man. Honestly, and hopefully, if Steve Clarke can keep this Scotland team as difficult to play against as he has done, and we can frustrate these teams and sneak a goal here and there. Greece won the fucking tournament doing that. Do you know
That's
what I mean?
right.
So
Yeah.
I don't see why Scotland can't aspire to do that.
Yeah, but you've got and to get to finals, whether it's the European Championship or the World Cup, you've no idea what it does to the nation. That I was kind of I was lucky to go there, but the interest in what it does for the the financial state of the nation, apart from anything else, lifts the soul. And by God, does this nation need its soul lifted just now?
Right.
It just would be so fantastic to just get there. And of course, the final irony will be if we do get to Euro 21 now, that the Tartan Army won't be allowed to go.
Aye.
That would be dreadful.
And you're right.
Scottish.
You're right, and it does need it because, I mean, as you say, we've no qualified since 1998. That's like 2 generations that have missed all these tournaments, and I think it's had an effect on, well, the likes of me, right? I was 10 when in the 1998 World Cup, loved it. I can remember the day, June the 10th, amazing. But because of the gap in between qualifying for these tournaments, man, I definitely put my hands up. I've got to admit it. My interest in international football has went right down. I just don't know what it is. I can't get myself G'd up for it. And I don't. What?
See what you're saying there. See when it happens, what Chick says, the full country kind of. There's no allegiances. There's no splits down the middle. Everybody's aiming for the one thing. Everybody's behind Scotland. I remember 90. I remember 92. I remember we never qualified in 94. 96 and 98. Those are the 4 tournaments that I remember. And you're standing there with your Rangers supporting pals or your Celtic supporting pals, and you're all supporting the one team. And it doesn't matter who a player plays for. I don't know how many Kenny Miller goals I went fucking tonto for watching Scotland. You know what I mean? But it's you'll agree with me here. It's just a different ball game altogether, isn't it? It really is.
I remember even at a professional level, the night before the opening game in Paris against Brazil, we were doing sports scene from Paris, a studio on a boat on the Thames on the Seine, and it was definitely saying that was the days the BBC had a better budget. Anyway, right, check. I had to go with a cameraman into the night before the game and film a piece on the Champs-Élysées, kissing as many Brazil and French women as I could. Now,
That's a terrible job.
Sounds like one excuse.
I'm not sure people would get sent out to do that kind of work now. But I tell you what, I had to take a bullet for the team and go out and do it. And I just interview them, and it was incredible. It was incredible times, and what a World Cup does. And I've, football's been so good. I've seen the world thanks to football, or thanks to my job in football, for which I'm ever grateful. But to get qualifying for Steve to take us there, you realise it'll be a reignition. And I think you're right, Grado. I think I worry about myself now that too many people think the club game eclipses the international game, and they should just kick any touch. And I think that's sad. I really do. My heart still thumps when I watch Scotland. I still desperately scream at the telly now to get them to win. And I think you're right, boys, that if we could get to the final, people would realise, oh, is this what the fuss is about?
Mm-hmm.
Whether you go there or you're back in Scotland supporting from here, there's a lot of things going on, and it just injects so much money into the economy as well.
Aye, I mean, it's just it definitely it's what it's needed. But when I hear you talking about when you were away in France and all that, and you've seen the world, we had Rob McLean on this show a couple of months ago, and what I loved was hearing. I mean, it must be some buzz, getting sent out your flight itinerary, and this is where you've got to be 2 nights before the game, and you're checking in at this hotel, man. There must be. See, when you go these places, if you go obviously you need to work, but you must be looking up where they're going and where's good to go for to eat and where's the booze. It must be like a holiday for you.
Well, I kept Rob's in the straight and narrow, of course, because I tell you the plights he nearly made and I didn't make rather. And I think the other thing about the beauty of when I was going to World Cups, the first trip I ever went abroad was with Celtic in 1975. I think it was after Mr. Steen's accident, and they played Reykjavik. So they played Akranes in Iceland, and I remember Johannes Edvardsson had come from there and signed for Celtic. He was like the king of Iceland. Anyway, the point was, now Iceland is really one of the Outer Hebrides, geographically speaking. We went on the Sunday lunchtime for a Wednesday night game and came back to Thursday night. It was, and you'd one story to write a day for the newspaper, and there were no mobile phones, there was no internet. It was just brilliant, and you lived life to the full. And
I bet you it didn't help that there's 7 women to every guy on Iceland on all chick.
Well, you do ask some of my colleagues about that. I think the quality is the important thing, but I don't want to get into it. It was just a good time with lovely, welcoming people. And you go. I've been to play Moldova. Who would go to Moldova if you went when you were, Georgia? But Georgia's beautiful. Tbilisi is a beautiful city. But there are places I've been to. Most people have been to Spain or France or, America maybe. I've just been places that it's just been absolutely phenomenal all over Mexico. Two 5-week periods in Mexico. It's just been ridiculous. The World Cups I've identified. Going with Scotland with Bertie to Hong Kong and to Korea, South Korea. Incredible stuff.
So listen, everybody knows all about the Walter Smith interview where he went nuts at you, right? But has there ever been any other managers that have wanted to strangle you?
Oh, Christ, Ian McCall ran at me last week. Walter's, I need to tell you about the Walter one because it was the day, the morning after, the night before the AEK Athens game. It was at 93, and I was sent out to interview him. And I've heard the story. Walter and I are great pals. Still are. But he is a one grumpy bastard at times. And I knew that was going to be an effort. So he wasn't doing any interviews. And I said, I'm hanging around. And his secretary, Laura, lovely woman, had apparently said to him, he'll not go away until you go out and do it. And I would have staked out. I tell me to set up the tunnel. So up the tunnel. And you've probably seen the clip now where the beauty of it is, Walter says, I said something about what I said, but I think it was Basil Bowley wasn't good enough for European, and he said he'd won a European Cup medal. But before that, I had said something, so is Tommy Gemmell, but he's about 63 now. So that was where I shouldn't have said that. That cracked him up. And there's the beautiful shot thing where if you watch it, he says, you'll see the camera shake a bit, and he says, no wonder you're laughing, Billy. Now, Billy was my cameraman, Billy Frew, who sadly died of cancer a few years ago. And at that point, the beauty of the shot is Archie Knox, because we're shooting down the tunnel, and Archie Knox comes up the tunnel and says, and now Walter turns to him and says, have you heard his fucking questions? And Archie says, tell me to stick his microphone up his fucking arse. But the beauty of it was the shot, because Archie just walks through the shot brilliantly. Anyway, I kept the thing going because I needed to get a clip for reporting Scotland. I got him, and Walter knew in these days if you swore, you would never have been broadcast. So we saved, I knew it had 30 seconds, which is all I needed of decent stuff. And in these days, you get back to BBC, and once you'd edited your piece, you threw all the tape was recycled. I decided to keep that tape in my bottom drawer. The next Christmas, there was a BBC in-house Christmas tape that went out, and anybody, there were always a memo in these days, is anybody any good stuff? I said, I've got this great stuff with me and Walter Smith. And went in the Christmas tape, and I have to tell you, the in-house BBC Christmas thing was better than any programme we ever made that went out. It was fantastic. More time and more love and affection went into it. And anyway, that went in, and what happened was the tape went out. It was somebody took it out of the building, which never happened, and it was downloaded on VHS copies and was shown in pubs and all the rest of it. And that's how it got out and how it was preserved. So people say, oh, how do you feel about that? Well, it was me that preserved it. I could have thrown it in the bin. That was the point. And then when it went onto YouTube, the News of the World phoned me and said, this thing's on YouTube. And I said, right, wait a minute, before you go any further, what the fuck's YouTube? So the boy explained to me, by that time, with about 1 million hits, I had to phone Walter. Walter said, this thing's in YouTube. And Walter said, what the fuck's YouTube? And I said, only because I'd explained to me. I said, right. He said, there must be money. And I said, if we get £1 a hit, that's £1 million. We can give it to charity. And I said, you can do what you want with your half. But anyway, the thing is going on, and it's turned full circle because Walter's been haunted by it, because his grandson said to him a wee while back, watched it on YouTube and said to Walter, Granddad, why are you swearing at that man? So it's come back to haunt him. It's come back to haunt him. But I want people to know that I don't run from it. It was me that kept the tape, or it would not have existed. And there's so many over the years that I probably should have kept as well, to show that it was... Bill McNeil used to make me sing the Celtic song in the team bus when we were away and tour before he would start the engine, get the driver to start the engine.
Who's that, Mark McNeil?
Team, and you go. Billy McNeil.
Billy McNeil.
Aye. So way back when I was working in the Evening Times, Billy was a fantastic human being.
I see that. I love that story because I remember talking about it before. That it's. See, I didn't know that you had preserved it. I knew that it was a tape within the BBC, but did you know? Like, it must just have came out of nowhere, the YouTube thing. But for years it was kept away.
So Grado, it was. So what happened? Somebody in the BBC copied it on a VHS tape, and they were showing it around pubs because there was no internet then. So they were showing it around the pubs, and the news will phone me about this. There was grainy footage, and then somewhere down the line, 10 years on or whatever it was, YouTube had started, and somebody had got it on, uploaded it, downloaded it, whatever it is, and at the start of YouTube, and it's, I don't know, it's about 3 million hits or something.
It's got more than that because.
You're breaking up, mate.
Oh, sorry.
It's good through hard times.
Can you hear me now?
Aye.
No, but it's been replicated that many times, man. It must be near to about 50 million hits, I would say, the amount of times it's been shared on Facebook. I'm telling you, it is one of the kind of... Is there any other tapes out there that you check now? Is there anything? I
think there's one of me and Jim Trader, but when there's a lot of... This becomes a shock to you, but I don't lie in my bed at night and Google myself. That sounds worse than it's meant to be.
I remember I was at a charity football match once and you were playing in it, right? And you were fucking no bad. I'll be honest with you, you were no bad. You still kick a ball.
I'm still playing sixes. The 11-a-side game has passed me by. It was probably the great Duplo Pumpers and thing. Now there's another great adventure of my life. 25 years of going around the world with Duplo, thing. Again, started from the naked radio thing, where they had a fictional amateur team called Duplo Pumpers and Sawmill and Tannery, and that was Johnny Watson and Johnny Watson and Tony Roper. And I had, what happened about 1988, I think, anybody there. Variety Club had the East Enders had a charity football team, the Castle Bates East Enders, and a couple of ex-pros and that. And they were coming to Glasgow, and the Variety asked me if I could get a team together, celebrity ex-players team, to play the Castle East Enders at Fir Hill. And I remember I got a team: Big Andy Ritchie, Alan Ruff, Jim Leishman, Walter Smith, all the boys. The wee Alec McDonald played, I think. There's a picture of it I saw quite recently somewhere. Anyway, I remember 7,000 people turned up. I remember the directors of Partick Thistle saying to me, what is all this? I said, it's a fucking crowd. And they never saw the funny side of that. Anyway, so the thing, people came to me. We won the game 2-0, I think. But anyway, so people were coming to me. Oh, yeah, you're on a celeb ex-players team. No, not really, but we can get his team together. And it became more and more regular. Tony and Johnny played, and somebody, John Blackley, John Brownlee, we Alan McDonald's. It was brilliant. Ali Hunter became the goalie. Big Ruffy wanted to play up front. And we had great fun. Danny played. So we had a bit of a team, and we adopted the name Duplo Pumpers from the from the thing they did Aiken Radio, and it grew and grew, and we had a dinner every year, 25 years of a dinner, massive dinner, which was fantastic fun. We went around the world, literally playing charity games. We've been to Brazil, Canada, South Africa, Spain, I mean the jaunts and the adventures and that, playing games, and with the dinner to raise funds to go and play, and we'd play for charities in these countries I've just named. I remember we played 3 games.
Did you know I've played all your games in Scotland and donated the travel money to the charity?
No. An international, I mean, would you like it? Celtic never played out of the country and raised their name.
Listen, it's fucking starting to get that way, chick.
I think we were in Europe longer, but it was fantastic fun, and the camaraderie with the boys and the banter. And I think players miss the dressing room atmosphere when they retire. And when we were away together, the crack with Cuba, we went to Cuba for a week. It was just ridiculous. And some of these stories of these trips, I keep getting asked to write my autobiography, but I'm never going to.
That'd be good.
The only thing I've built on, Grado, is I've got the name of it. I'm going to call it. You're never going to believe this, because I think that's exactly what the reaction will be when it happens.
That's amazing.
The best part is Grado's still waiting for the name of the book, yeah.
Can you tell? Am I making it that obvious? Yeah, what was I going to ask you? Whatever. How's Cuba, by the way? Because that's off the quarantine list. I read that this morning. I've got a week off in November.
Oh, get yourself. I don't think I would say, first time I went was 97, and I went back in 2001. And even in these 4 years, the change was incredible. You know, and the whole relationship with the Americans has kind of screwed it up a bit. But wonderful people, fabulous island. Yeah, I love Cuba. Get yourself there, absolutely.
Well,
I'll get you some cigar lists.
Right. Tidy, well, it's either going to be Cuba or Malport, so we'll see what happens in the next couple of days.
No contest there. You're talking about Fantasy Island. Fantastic.
Oh man. So see when you were playing for Duplo Pumpers against EastEnders, did any of the big hitters for EastEnders try and put a mark on you?
No, I mean, I see the players I've just listed that were my team.
Aye.
I think I was maybe away doing the target, rich zone. I think, and I also had protection. The guy Jimmy Bone.
Oh,
And he was. You don't see if you're a player playing a charity game. You do not tangle with ex-professional players. You'll not know what happened to you. You know, they get two try the big man, and they get 1 or 2 tackles in, and last one, son, and the next thing the boy's doing, you never know what happened. Professionals know things.
Just clear this up. You were playing EastEnders the telly, as in you were playing against Ian Beale.
The actors for EastEnders, mate. Aye.
Well, there a couple of boys I played with Arsenal, but we used to play. We played all sorts of teams. Stan Boardman brought a team up to Liverpool. We played at Broadwood. That was the other thing. We got to play in. There's not many stadia, and I played at Hampden, Celtic Park, Ibrox, Smyrna Park. I mean, right through there's not many. Motherwell. There's grounds of these charity games that I've played in. Some of the greatest players in Scottish football history they played in. It's at Wembley. I played at Wembley. I played in a game when Hampden was rebuilt. Was that 99? And they had a game to test, access from fans and all that. There was 27,000. Rod Stewart was playing in my team. Tommy Burns was the captain of the team. And then Ruffy, I think, and then Kenny Dalglish, myself, Rod Stewart coming out. I thought, I'm the only person in this lineup I don't recognise.
I tell you, was a player in one of the charity games that surprised me. Peter Martin. I mean, you got to see the belly on him, but he's shit hot. Did you see him at Airdrie, Toe?
I played in that. I get sent off in that game.
Oh, did you?
So I did. No, it was the first one I get sent off in. Get sent off for sticking your head on somebody in a charity game, chick. I'm ashamed of myself.
Aye, well.
The guy's knee was fucking killing him.
Peter's lovely touch in the ball.
He's
likes a wee drag back.
He was definitely. It surprised me. I couldn't believe it when he was playing.
Stands in that centre circle, didn't he? He doesn't do much running, but he picks the ball about.
Aye, that's it. No,
Hey,
it's
we'll ask one more question before we get to the quiz bit. Toe, what do you think?
Aye. Check, see if you were interviewing us.
Aye, give
Give
some advice here. Give some podcast advice here, Chick. We're thinking about the last question to ask you before we go right now. We've not got our usual producer here, Celtic Bob isn't here. We've got stand-in Ryan. If you were us interviewing Chick Young, what would you want us to ask you? That's a good question.
Well, you see, if you want to have an interview, I'm not really of the school where you go and sit and write down 20 questions and ask that. I tend to think of it as a conversation, and it leads on. You have an answer, and it leads on to somewhere else. I mean, if
I was stumped at Peter Martin.
What was that?
I was stumped at Peter Martin. That's when we kind of lost the conversation there. That's right. Do you know what I mean? I didn't know what would lead on to that.
Well, people. I mean, there are cliched questions about any regrets or what you wish you'd have done and all that kind of stuff, and what's going to happen now. I don't think you should script out an interview. I've worked with producers who say, right, A, B, C, D, but I tend to just like, and you have the other thing is, you said if I was interviewing you, well, I like to interview big names, so this really wouldn't be happening.
Well, you wouldn't be interviewing Grado.
Oh,
Oh, great.
My name's quite long, Christopher Charles Toll. That's a big name, isn't it?
Grado, actually, I tried to drag him into the big time and he snubbed me. He went to sleep for 24 hours.
Oh man, that was bad. I totally forgot about that. That was horrific. What was that? The Graham Souness night?
So I managed to organise on behalf of Debra, a charity. It was a fantastic thing. I organised it. I helped to organise it. So we had Graham Souness and Walter Smith and Martin O'Neill and Neil Lennon, and a joint Rangers and Celtic, an old firm united for Debra, and it was a magnificent success. And I asked your man to be a guest, and he never rocked up. Empty seat at the table.
Hey, that chick had have been the first one in the hall, my man.
Tell you what a piece of shit,
You're a piece of shit, by the way.
We raised £158,000 at one dinner in March.
159.
So Debra have been delighted then with our hall, eh?
It was a very good charity, and if you saw the cause, and Graham Souness was the man who kind of drove it on. That's his adopted charity, but you know, Walter Smith and Martin and Lenny never blinked. Yeah, we'll be there. Never took a penny, and it was what a laugh. It was a fantastic night. The great John Gagan finished off the night.
Oh, check how funny is John Gagan, man.
Funniest speaker I've ever heard. Full stop.
He's the best, isn't he?
Fuck you, tarred with a brush.
He's dead unique as well, isn't he? The way he goes on, it's full of energy, and he's all like, I love listening to him.
Aye, so I've seen him a right few times in Nerdy Workman's, and he's funny as fuck, man. Really, really funny. At the end of our interviews, we ask people, our guests, a quiz on Scottish football. Right? We've had some belters on. We've had Kenny Duker, Keith Lasley, Mark Wilson, Kevin Harper. We've had Frank McAvenny, Owen Coyle, ironically Johnny Watson. So that's the one that you're looking out to beat, I think. And the worst one in the whole time that we've done this was David McCracken. He only got one question right.
So there are questions about the game?
Questions about football, my good man. I originally asked our normal producer, John. I wanted all of these questions to be about St Mirren, right, to see how much of a big St Mirren fan you actually were. But he's shat the bed and he's just done a normal quiz as usual. Right, so we're going to go for a normal quiz. You get 90 seconds. Oh. You're not allowed to pass. Even if you give a wrong answer, you've got to give an answer, right?
Right.
Are you ready for this, Chick?
Yeah.
Right, Ryan, have you got 90 seconds on the clock, my man?
Yep, on you go.
And your 90 seconds start now. Which club did Scott Brown join Celtic from?
Hibs.
Who was the last Scot to lift the European Cup?
Andy Robertson.
How many league games will there be in the lower leagues this season?
27.
Which team do you really support?
St Mirren.
Which club have a steeple on their badge?
Falkirk. That's not right.
Partick Thistle's Ricky Foster is married to which pop star?
Amy McDonald.
Which player has the most caps for Scotland's men's team?
Kenny Dalglish, 102.
When were St Mirren founded?
1887.
Clyde Tildesley is the commentator for which club's TV channel?
Rangers.
What 3 players were put into self-isolation from the Scotland camp?
Ryan Christie, Stuart Armstrong, and Kieran Tierney.
What is the name of the project being led by Liverpool and Man United down south?
Project It's All About Us.
What's the name of Paisley Panda's wife?
Mrs. Panda.
Who scored the winning penalty for
Panda's
Scotland
wife?
against Israel?
Say that again.
Who scored the winning penalty for Scotland against Israel?
Kenny McLean.
What League Two club have a Norwegian supporters club?
Stenhousemuir.
Who have the bookies made favourites to win this year's championship?
Hearts.
What club are nicknamed the Gable Endies?
A broth.
How many
Time.
Scottish Cups? Time's up. By the way,
up.
you only get 2 wrong there.
You get to finish the last question.
Oh, sorry,
Tom,
do that.
didn't you?
How many Scottish Cups have St Mirren won?
3.
Right.
Right.
I'm going to go back, and you only get 2 questions wrong there, right? And one of them was, when were St Mirren founded?
I know. I know. I shouldn't have said that. What did I say? I said 18.
You said 1887. It was 1877. Check.
77. I knew when I said that. That's why I was laughing at the back. Yeah.
Right, and the club that's named the Gable Endies is Montrose.
Montrose, I know.
That's right.
Oh.
So how are we looking then, Ryan? Oh, he's not as fast as counting as John.
No, I was just going back to check there. I've got him
By the
down
way,
as
we've got a new leader, Grado.
Seriously?
Check, you're top of the 3 with 15 correct answers.
No way, you're top of the league.
I can't believe I get someone wrong. That was stupid.
There we go, that's you. You're top, joint top with John Sutton. 15
Yeah, and there, Chick, you can tell your pals.
That's
Aye.
it, man.
I'm
I
not
don't
even
think
telling
he's
my
going to be
pals.
telling his pals about this interview.
Exactly. I'm not telling my pals that was on this.
Well, Chick, thanks very much for that. Did you enjoy yourself?
Yes, I did, boys. Very much, very
What was
much.
your favourite bit?
Just signing off now.
Right.